This is going to be a grim story. If you're a sensitive person, I would advise against watching this. Welcome to the Weekly Brew. I'm your host, Chico Moya. At the heart of this story is the Bibas family, particularly two babies, Kfir and Ariel Bibas, who were abducted along with their parents, Shiri and Yarden Bibas, on October 7th, 2023. Since that day, the family has become a symbol of the hostages taken on that day. Their faces have been plastered all across cities worldwide in protest and solidarity, at least when their posters weren't ripped down by rabid pro-Hamas supporters who claimed to be pro-Palestinian. At this point, it's becoming almost impossible to tell the difference. On a side note, I'd wager that a majority of so-called pro-Palestinian activists are simply anti-Israel or outright anti-Jewish. When a tentative ceasefire was reached in January 2025, there was hope. Hope that this family, especially the babies who had been in captivity for well over a year, might finally be freed. A small ray of light in an unimaginable situation. Well, not only were those hopes crushed, but the horror of how brutally these babies' lives were ended has left people reeling. Watch the IDF spokesperson explain the details.
Following a forensic examination, we can confirm that baby Kfir Bibas, aged just 10 months old, and his older brother Ariel, aged 4, were both brutally murdered by terrorists while being held hostage in Gaza, no later than November 2023. These two innocent children were taken hostage alive together with their mother Shiri from their home on October 7, 2023. Contrary to Hamas's lies, Ariel and Kfir were not killed in an airstrike. Ariel and Kfir Bibas were murdered by terrorists in cold blood. The terrorists did not shoot the two young boys. They killed them with their bare hands. Afterwards, they committed horrific acts to cover up these atrocities. This assessment is based on both forensic findings from the identification process and intelligence that supports the findings. We have shared these findings, intelligence and forensics, with our partners around the world so they can verify it, and that the entire world will know exactly how the Hamas terrorist organization operates. Ariel and Kfir were murdered and then yesterday returned in a cynical and cruel ceremony in Gaza. Shiri Bibas, who was meant to be returned with her children to Israel yesterday as part of the agreement, was not returned by Hamas. Hamas lied and violated the agreement. The body that Hamas falsely claimed was Shiri was not hers and not of any other hostage. Instead, Hamas sent over the body of an anonymous woman. This is a further evidence of Hamas' barbaric cruelty. On Thursday evening, we confirmed that one of the deceased hostages returned was 83 years old Oded Lifshitz. Oded was taken hostage alive together with his wife Yocheved by the Islamic Jihad terrorist organization on October 7, 2023 from their home in Kibbutz Nir Oz. The forensic examination confirmed that Oded was also murdered in captivity in November 2023. The abduction and murder in captivity of Oded, Ariel, and baby Kfir, all innocent civilians, are crimes against humanity. The whole world must condemn these barbaric acts of terror. We demand that Hamas release Shiri in accordance with the agreement. Today, our hearts go out to Yarden Bibas, Kfir and Ariel's father, and Shiri's husband, who was abducted separately from his wife and children on October 7th. and returned home after 484 days in captivity in Gaza earlier this month. We will do everything we can to bring Shiri home, and all of the 69 other hostages still being held in horrific and brutal conditions by Hamas in Gaza. Our mission is not over until every single hostage comes home.
I don't say this lightly, but Hamas is a truly demonic organization. They sacrifice their own children by putting them in harm's way. They kill indiscriminately whenever they get the opportunity. And if that's not enough, they mock those mourning the deaths of their loved ones. In this case, they even sent the body of a random woman to Israel in place of Shiri Bibas, the mother of the 2 babies. I watched about 10 seconds of a video showing Shiri being abducted with her children on October 7th. I had to stop. The sheer terror on her face as she tried to protect her babies was unbelievable. I can't even begin to imagine what it must be like for Yarden Bibas, who was abducted separately. Imagine being him, learning what these monsters did to your family. What baffles me most is that the people who lived closest to Gaza, those who suffered the worst of Hamas's brutality, were, for the most part, peace-loving idealists, hippies, basically. Many of them genuinely believed in coexistence. Some even took Palestinians to hospitals in Israel, doing their part to bridge the divide. And yet, it was these very people who were brutally murdered, raped, and abducted. Before we move on to the next clip, be sure to like this video and subscribe to this channel if you appreciate my perspective, even though it's a very morbid subject this time around. But thank you in advance. Listen to the Prime Minister's remarks on the situation.
Today is a tragic day. It's a day of boundless sorrow, of indescribable pain. 4-year-old Ariel Bibas, his baby brother, 1-year-old Kfir, and 84-year-old Oded Lifshitz were brutally murdered by Hamas savages. Their bodies returned home to a nation in mourning, a nation that will never forget and never forgive the evil that cut down these beautiful souls. Since that black day on October 7th, when Hamas butchered and burned 1,200 of our families and friends, Israel waited with bated breath, hoping beyond hope that our hostages would survive the Hamas hell. Against all odds, we succeeded to bring many home. Some we rescued, some we tragically couldn't. The Bibas children in particular became the symbol of who we are and who we're fighting against. Here's a photo of the Bibas brothers. These perfect children again were 4 years old and less than 1 year old when the Hamas savages snatched them from their mother's arms. She fought like a lioness to protect her boys. Just imagine their horror. Imagine their confusion. Perfect little children who never hurt a soul. A baby for the love of God. They languished in captivity until Hamas murdered them in cold blood. Who kidnaps a little boy and a baby and murders them? Monsters, that's who. These Hamas monsters also cynically refused to bring back the boy's mother, Shiri, and sent the body of a Gazan woman instead, in brazen violation of the agreement. Today, the heavens shake. The entire civilized world should condemn these horrific murders. The entire civilized world should join Israel in demanding the immediate release of all the hostages. All of Israel is united in grief. And as the Prime Minister of Israel, I vow that I will not rest until the savages who executed our hostages are brought to justice. They do not deserve to walk this earth. Nothing will stop me. Nothing. Ariel, Kfir, and Oded, I'm so sorry we couldn't save you from the monsters who did this. We honor your kind and loving souls, so tragically cut down by evil terror. May your memories forever be a blessing and a reminder to all of us that we must fight this evil and eradicate it from the face of this earth.
When the war began after October 7th, many of us tried to separate Hamas supporters from those who were genuinely heartbroken by the suffering of innocent civilians caught in Israel's response. Yes, it was Hamas that put its own people at risk. Yes, they deliberately provoked carnage as a tool for lawfare against Israel. Yes, they fought in civilian clothing to induce and manufacture civilian casualties, an evil but highly effective strategy against a nation that actually values human life. Yes, Israel did more than any other military force in history to minimize civilian casualties, but tragedies still happen. Many people, including myself, try to acknowledge that Gazans themselves were victims of an authoritarian regime, a regime that needs to be uprooted and thrown into the fire. But the level of depravity in this conflict runs even deeper than we thought, because it seems that for many, Palestinian identity isn't just about the desire for statehood. It's about the total annihilation of Israel and its people from the river to the sea. This ideology is spoon-fed to children from birth. They are raised to hate Jews, taught that their lives are meaningless unless they fight to destroy Israel, conditioned to see themselves as perpetual refugees, forever victims of Israel's evil. Organizations like UNRWA, United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine, have functioned as little more than terrorist fronts, eagerly indoctrinating children into this hateful ideology. For years, they have controlled key institutions in Gaza and the West Bank, including education. Thankfully, organizations like UN Watch have been documenting this, showing beyond doubt that many of UNRWA's so-called teachers were in fact terrorists themselves. Finally, UNRWA is being defunded by multiple countries. But take a look at some of these clips from the latest so-called hostage release. I don't know how this war ends, but when children are celebrating death, you know something is deeply wrong with that society. And it's not just celebration, it's something much darker. There are even videos of children spitting on the body of an Israeli hostage as she's paraded through Gaza like a trophy on October 7th. It's completely unhinged. The Bibas family's story has shaken so many. Not because their lives were more valuable than other victims of this war, Palestinian children included, but because of the sheer senselessness of their deaths. They were taken from their homes, innocent in every way, and then brutally murdered. There was no logic to it, no strategy, just pure, mindless evil. But anyway, Thank you for watching this episode. I don't know what will happen next, but I'll do my best to keep you updated. So be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. But yeah, until next time, ciao.